Alright, little buddy, time to do a review about your best episodes.
Oh, spare me, you fat little puke.
Why do you sound like that?
Sound like what? Do you have an axe to grind?
You're the actual Crypt Keeper, dude. Who's in there? Are you a fraud? Malcolm, is that you, my belligerent next-door neighbor?
Start poking me, you fat little fudge boy. Look at you, ugly man.
You're a rude guy, you little Crypt Keeper.
And I am the only Crypt Keeper, Bubba, so keep my name out of your fucking vocabulary.
You don't want me to tell any more dead time stories? Your puns suck, just like the 90s sucked. I got bullied heavily back then.
Yeah, my puns suck. Go suck on a cheeseburger, you fat prick. God, you look like a cricket. You can't keep up.
I'm gonna do this review with confidence and swagger that you could never fathom. Oh, in Crypt Keeper?
What'd it do? What?
Be careful who you talk crap to. You don't want to end up 6 feet under. Hold me now.
I'm 6 feet from you. Fuck Creed, dude. They're outdated.
Despite what Prickbag down there wants to say, Tales from the Crypt is one of the most iconic shows from my childhood. I've said this many times. It is the one thing that scared me the most, other than Zelda from Pet Sematary or Jeepers Creepers. But that intro, every time I watch it at my dad's house, the dreary, anxious, antagonizing anticipation of him popping out of the coffin scared me more than any bully ever could at school. So today, I'm going to talk about my personal favorite top 10 episodes. And I hope you agree along the way. If you don't, comment down below. But what up, y'all? Welcome back to Phantom of the Indie Review. I am your host, the original Crypt Keeper, not your old ass. We are on the journey of 4,000 subscribers. If we don't get to it, he ain't invited to dinner, and I ain't bringing no cookies. So if any of this sounds intriguing to you, yeah, I can do the voice too. Come hang out. And if you want to be a crappy individual who has their comeuppance hit them at the end like a ton of bricks, come hang out and give me a shubby. I've mentioned little hidden nuggets of the show throughout my channel. You see my appreciation and love for it. And dare I say that the Crypt Keeper influenced me to be a horror host of my own. Without Tales from the Crypt, would I be reviewing films like this? Probably, because my main inspiration is Cinemassacre. Tales from the Crypt is one of the first things as a child that desperately scared me. I remember as a little pup being at my dad's house. Very rarely went to the dude's house. Man sucked. But he'd always watch Tales from the Crypt, and every single time, for some reason, that alluring intro of them creeping up through the castle yard into the giant mansion just devastated me. Knowing that the Crypt Keeper was lurking around each corner and was gonna pop out of that coffin really did some damage to my psyche. I hid, but I couldn't get my eyes off the screen because the stories never really scared me as much, but I was always like, yo dude, every time this Crypt Keeper jumps out of his coffin, I'm gonna have a spaz attack. And Tales from the Crypt is such a brilliant concept that when I was younger, I did not quite fancy as much because a lot of times it always focused on really adult-themed horror, like love triangles, affairs, a lot of sexual tension in it, but the standalone creepy episodes, the Monster of the Week episodes, if you will, segments really tantalized me. So that's why, finally, here, we are going to talk about my top 10 personal favorite episodes. Coming in at number 10 was one of the first ones I remember as a child, is Dig That Cat, He's Real Gone. On a busy night at a big top carnival, the local barker leads a group of patrons into a show featuring the tragedy of death and the miracle of resurrection, aka the undying daredevil. Ulrich, who is this magician, essentially killing himself and then reviving himself in front of his crowd. But how does he do it? After performing the biggest stunt of his career, burying himself underground for 12 hours straight, he waves goodbye to the crowd, locks himself in the coffin, and lights a candle. Talking to himself, he recounts to the audience of the show exactly how he was able to pull off these stunts with this supernatural ability. Many years before, Ulrich is living on the streets when he is approached by Dr. Emil Manfred. He gives Ulrich an opportunity to make a lot of money by agreeing to a unique procedure. Ulrich goes with the doctor to his lab where he has been studying cat scans and has concluded felines have glands inside their brains that grant them 9 lives. So that myth of cats have 9 lives in this episode happens to be true. Ulrich gets a chance to have this implanted into himself where he has 9 lives. So like a cat, he can do all these crazy chaotic stunts, kill himself and come back to life for a heavy price, but remember, he only has 9. And then Ulrich does some crazy stuff like a live hanging and many other various ill-fated events. And during all these shows, he garners a lot of attention. A lady named Coralie asks him out on a date and they become kind of an item together. And as the episode progresses, she kind of takes advantage of him more and more, wanting more part of the money. And they decide to go on a vacation together. He's filthy rich when Coralie turns on him. She becomes overwhelmed with greed and stabs Ulrich to death, stealing all his money. So now that he is back to life and he realized that he got done dirty by this lady, he's like, all right, I'm going to do one more show, get my big bank account, and call it quits. Ulrich reasons to himself that the carnival would be nothing without success and can't help but think what the audience would do if he pulled a no-show. The final stunt is the coughing scene from the beginning. He laughs to himself about everything, but stops himself after making a fatal discovery. The cat had to die for him to get the rest of the lives. So as he's buried underground, he has the revelation that he is out of lives. He has no more. And that's such a bone-chilling, genius revelation to cap off the entire episode. He panics and begs to be let out, but the gravediggers above only hear groans and mistake them for a cat, ironically. Ulrich permanently dies in the coffin while a cat is lying on his grave. And just based off that whole little analysis of that episode, you can see the theme behind Tales from the Crypt. It is always somebody in a situation that deserves comeuppance their ways, where fate gets revenge onto them. It's always seedy, ruthless, unforgiving people that try to do things, whether it be for money or love or power, and every single time it bites them back in the ass because they try to tempt life too much and they never get the proper outcome they want. It's like the monkey paw, be careful what you wish for, and I feel like this is a fine example of it. In 1919, a German silent horror anthology kickstarted the whole ambiance of what anthology films are. This movie, translated to English, was called Eerie Night, and it had short story films such as The Apparition, The Hand, The Black Cat after the Edgar Allan Poe story, and many others. And from there, in cinema, there had been an abundance of anthology for horror. I feel like this format for horror really catered and blossomed the horror genre, because adding all these little small intricate stories to one movie really created its own vibe and ambiance. Dead of Night came out in 1945 as a black and white anthology film made in Britain. The Devil's Messenger is a 1961 anthology combining 3 episodes of the 1959 Swedish television series 13 Demon Street, with some new scenes featuring Lon Chaney Jr., Karen Cadler, and John Crawford. One that became heavily nostalgic is Tales of Terror, the gothic horror anthology film that focused on Edgar Allan Poe stories starring Vincent Price. And then, of course, more modern ones that are heavily appreciated in nostalgia is Trilogy of Terror and George A. Romero's and Stephen King's Creepshow. Number 9 is an episode called None But the Lonely Heart, which a conman played by Treat Williams finds a new wealthy widow, and she is very excited to have his company. The conman Howard Price and his partner Marty are on the brink of being caught by the FBI. They are constantly luring old women into their clutches, stealing all their money, and then making it look like they died of natural causes. The episode starts off with just that, him with his lover as he kills her. So you see right out of the gates he is brutal and grisly and holds no remorse. But he finds this new woman via a video dating service owner who was unaware of Howard's plans. And as Howard finds this new love interest, he moves in with her. The butler is a little bit suspicious of the man's. We do get a great cameo appearance from Tom Hanks, who actually directed this episode. Howard decides to attack his new lover. Everything is going according to plan. He calls an ambulance to cover his tracks. But his wife, Effie, survives the poisoning. So he throws her down the staircase and tells 911 operators that she fell down the stairs. Days after Effie's funeral, during this episode, there's a gravedigger played by the famous Sugar Ray Leonard, who we see early on become suspicious of Howard, how many times he is at these cemeteries. So he decides to frame Howard. He's like, I know what you're up to. So he's leaving all these notes. Howard catches on that it is the gravedigger who is doing this. Howard shows up to the cemetery for vengeance and kills the gravedigger with his own shovel. And as he's about to drag the gravedigger and put him into Effie's coffin so he is never seen again. He sees that it's empty, and then he hears a voice and turns, seeing Effie, who has come back as a zombie. However, she isn't the only one who came back. It is all the vengeance of the lovers he had killed. Oh, such a bone-chilling, cool, fun episode. I love the practical effects of the zombies. Number 8 is people who live in brass hearses. Where did it go? I will say superficially that this one is one of my favorites, specifically because of the casting of Billy DeLuca and Virgil DeLuca, the two brothers. They are played by the late great Bill Paxton and one of my favorite horror icons, Brad Dourif. Billy and his brother Virgil are planning a heist at the ice cream factory that Billy currently works at. An ice cream truck is coming down the street driven by Earl Bird, who is popular with the children. Bird has a puppet on his hand he uses to entertain the kids, and they all love it. As the presentation is going on, Billy comes up and confronts Mr. Bird. And this is a little backstory. We learn that Mr. Bird had put Billy in prison for many years, so now that Billy is out, he's very frustrated with Mr. Bird. One day, Virgil talks to Billy and says that they should go after the puppet man. They should go to Bird's house to rob him specifically. Virgil and Billy kick the door in with guns in hands. They threaten Bird for his money, but Mr. Bird tries to get away. Virgil shoots him in the head, knocking him over, which forces the two men to search the house. Mr. Bird comes out with a gun, surprising Billy, who is now on the ground. He keeps calling for Virgil, so Mr. Bird shows him his brother's dead body. He says to Billy, he's like, "You think you and Virgil were close as brothers? Me and my brother were even closer." He then tells Billy about his brother, whom he was close to until he died. Bird turns around to reveal that his brother was attached to him the whole time as like a Siamese twin brother. Much to Billy's horror, the brother reveals that they had shot his twin in the head, killing him. Just seeing that scene is just so chilling and haunting. You're like, holy crap, this entire time using that puppet, the twin on his backside was doing the voice instead. That's so creepy. He said his brother wasn't what you would call a social butterfly, but when he was doing Little Willie's voice, he was the best ice cream salesman and that he will be missed. Billy, who's now pissed off, tells him to go to hell, to which Bird replies, "You first," before he hits him over the head with the gun. The episode ends when Bird is in the ice cream truck when a child comes up to tell him that his truck stinks. He's like, "Dude, your truck smells bad." And Bird then turns to Earl's dead body, which is still attached to him, and they drive away. Ugh. Number 7 is Let the Punishment Fit the Crime. A predatory and shameless ambulance-chasing lawyer named Geraldine Ferret is arrested in a remote town of Stokesville for an improper license plate. Despite that being a minor offense, she is handcuffed and brought into the courthouse for her arraignment. After calling her boyfriend to let him know she'll be running late, she obviously gives her business card,
who has been grievously harmed by an irresponsible motorist.
For another And this episode just goes off the rail. It is very fun. It's very quirky. That little one-piece setting is very fun, and I really like it a lot. She finds herself in a nightmarish court system that pretty much specialize in petty crimes, and all these cases are delegated between 3 judges. Her appointed lawyer tries to get each of the judges to assign her to public service. I decided I'm not going to spoil every single ending, because for the people that haven't seen some of these obscure episodes, definitely check it out. This one's fun. Number 6 for me is The Secret. A 12-year-old young orphan is adopted by a rich, childless couple who harbor a dark secret. However, the couple themselves do not realize that the young orphan has a dark secret of his own. This episode has Larry Drake in it, who plays the beloved Santa Claus in All Through the House episode, and he plays Dr. Giggles, a great performance actor. And this episode, I don't want to spoil too much because it's called The Secret, so what fun would that be? But let's just say that as this orphan goes to this rich mansion, nothing is as it seems. The butler, played by Larry Drake, seems to be on his side, but all these adults seem to have this tragic silence to them. They're all trying to hide something, and let's just say that their secret correlates with the orphan's secret, and as they try to do the orphan wrong, let's just say that the orphan gets some payback on his own. Sponsor break, guys. This video is sponsored by my own channel, The Drip Fed Dread. I pay myself to talk about myself.
More like all you do is buy Twinkies, you big boy.
I have had it up to here, you little puppet prick. I'm going to demolish you and end your career when I become the best horror host of all time. We're at the halfway mark. I'm going to talk about one that I really find very atmospheric and gritty, stared in horror. This one is very fun. The ambiance, it has a very creep factor to it. It's a good one to put on around Halloween time. A lot of them are, but this one specifically, I might watch it when I'm done filming. Like my boy Crypt would say, "Welcome, stranger. A fugitive holes up in a decrepit manse." Manse? Inhabited by an old woman by an upstairs curse. Oh my god. Fugitive Clive is on the run from a belligerent lynch mob. That's right. And he seeks refuge in an old, decrepit, beat-down manor that is owned by an elderly woman, and, however, that this old manor, this mansion, unbeknownst to Clyde, this old mansion has a curse. This episode is just so fun to me. I really love the vibe. It's very scary, it's very creepy, it's very spooky, and it kind of embodies Tales from the Crypt. This is one of those few episodes that really speaks true to the aesthetic of the show. As Clyde is in this mansion, he's very curmudgeon-y, belligerent, doesn't care about much, but he sees this beautiful woman on a stairwell. We get a very typical run-of-the-mill but nostalgic cameo from Arlie Ermy. This staircase that this lady is standing on, let's just say that there's a curse on it that at a certain point on the staircase you become old, and at the other end you become very young. So she uses this curse in her favor. And let's just say, like Tales from the Crypt does, the curse of this staircase really hinders Clyde's perspective and outcome of his fate. Now we are in the final four, the four pillars of horror, the ones that kind of made me love Tales from the Crypt the most. Number 4, I have to do Lower Berth, the origin story of the almighty, belligerent little prickly bastard, the Crypt Keeper. That is right. Enoch is a two-faced man who is living within the confines of a sideshow attraction. And during this episode, caged and tormented and ridiculed, being casted aside by his owner, gawked at by a crowd, he falls in love with another exhibit, a 4,000-year-old mummy. This one is a rarity for a Tales from the Crypt story, in that the Crypt Keeper appears during the main story, not just in bumpers, but as the tale recounts how his parents met. This tale establishes that the Crypt Keeper is half Egyptian descent. Like I said, Enoch falls in love with this mummy, and the episode ends very OG Hunchback of Notre Dame lore. Hunchback of Notre Dame lore, when one of the sideshow owners find Enoch and the mummy holding each other in their arms, dying, while we see the birth of the Crypt Keeper. And I mean, I thought I was ugly. I was mad that my dad left me at a young age, but Crypt Keeper boy over here, his parents are a two-faced freak and a mummy. Like, dude, you look like a skeleton. Look like a doughboy. Yeah, you do. Number 3, my older brother's personal favorite, the man I love the most, my inspiration, my best friend. Shout out to you, brother Ryan. PJ, if you're watching this, you're also my favorite brother too, I swear. You guys have an equal tie. I love you both a lot. PJ, you're very unique and well-hearted. You're very wholehearted and inspirational. Ryan, you're very caring and loving and soft. You guys are a dichotomy. You guys are a very an amalgamation of what represents me as a person. I love you both equally. But this video's for you, right? PJ, if you want a video made for you, let me know. But number 3, I don't know if I already said it because I went on that little tangent, is Top Billing, starring our boy, not John Lithgow. I almost said John Lithgow. That'd be a treat. Not John Leguizamo. What's his name, Rye? Rye, what's his name? I forget what the actor's name is. I keep saying John Leguizamo.
It's John Aston.
Yeah, John Aston, but what's the fat funny guy who's like from Grown Ups?
Oh, John Lovitz.
Yeah, John Lovitz.
Yeah, John Lovitz.
Okay, I couldn't remember his name. Alright, love you.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.
This one stars John Lovitz, who is an aspiring actor that just isn't getting the roles that he wants because of his looks, even though he feels like art and film and movies is more about the acting more than the glitz and glam, but he's never getting the big break he wants until finally he auditions for a play of Hamlet at an old rundown theater helmed by John Aston, horror icon, and a bunch of miscellaneous misanthropes. Life continues to get worse for Barry. His agent drops him after admitting that he doesn't have the look to make it in Hollywood. But the next day, Barry pulls himself together and heads to his Hamlet audition, quickly learning that the theater entrance is a weird alley. His op is there auditioning for the role too, and he's like, dude, this is bullshit. I just want this role. Why aren't you doing big Hollywood movies? And his enemy is like, dude, I'm just better than you at every facet. But this one's very fun, quirky, unique, and it, again, has one of those shocking, horrific endings where the whole time they think they're auditioning for Hamlet, but they are auditioning for Dog, please. You know the infamous line from Hamlet, to be or not to be, that is a question while they're holding that skull. Let's just say that Barry finds out that this is not some chic underground performance, but it is helmed by a insane asylum gone rogue. They killed off all their caretakers, and that the role they are trying to fill the most is that skull from Hamlet, not the role that they think. So let's just say when Barry gets his revenge on his enemy and thinks he got the role, that he ends up becoming the character that he wanted to be the whole time. Number 2 is an iconic one, the death of some salesman. And I talked about this one in a short recently, but Tim Curry plays an entire diabolic family known as the Brackets, who are living in this secluded little farmhouse, when a cemetery plot salesman comes up and tries to sell them a specific plot so that they can be all buried together come their demise. But as backwoods and redneck as the Bracket are, they're smarter than they are depicted to be. Tim Curry's performance is just legendary. I can't give him a standing ovation enough. I really love it. It's very fun and fascinating. From Ma and Pa to the daughter Winona, it's just so funny and sardonic, and it really captures the aesthetic of Tales from the Crypt. I know I say this a lot, but it captures it more so, less in the horror aspect, but in like the humor, the dark comedy, and the sardonic tone. The cemetery plot salesman gets exactly what he deserves when he tries to prank the family into being like, oh, I'll marry your daughter, I love her dearly, and she's just big, nasty, grimy Tim Curry and special effects and prosthetics. And the whole episode unravels into a crescendo of chaos and beauty. It's just a great story with great acting, great practical effects, and it's so funny, and it's so different, and it's so unique as a play on Death of a Salesman title, obviously, but this one is just very fun. And then number 1, tried and true, it's always been number 1 for me. The one that scared me the most as a child is the Christmas episode in All Through the House. I remember watching this one as a little kid, shaking in my boots. Larry Drake, he plays the Santa Claus. A lady on Christmas Eve is at home when she decides to belligerently kill her husband and dispose of his body outside during a snowstorm. During all of this, we hear on the radio, there's a maniac at large dressed in a Santa costume killing off people in the surrounding neighborhood, and this becomes a cat and mouse chase. Now that I'm older, this one is way more cartoony and quirky and funny than I remember it to be, but the look of the Santa Claus is visceral. It's very creepy. The fact that she's hiding in the house, every little image we get of the Santa Claus is creepy, even to the point when we see him lurking around the house, his presence is just there. And she has a daughter at home sleeping, waiting for Santa Claus, so you're worried about the daughter's fate a lot of the times. In Tales from the Crypt, you're not really worried about the main character's fate, because they do bad stuff, like they murder people, they steal things, they try to get an event, they try to one-up all these people around them, but in this one you really care for the daughter, and that really builds upon. I think the actress who plays the main girl is the mom from the Goonies, but I could be wrong. But yeah, it's a cat and mouse, she's running around the house, and the episode ends when she comes into the house and she sees the little girl holding Santa's hand saying, "Santa's here, Mommy, I let him in," and she just screams horrifically and belligerently. And I believe this is like the first episode ever, so to be the first episode really, if it's not the first, it's one of the first few, but it really like caps the hat off, and it's such a wholesome, creepy moment. But alright guys, that is finally the video. I did it. If you made it this far in the video and you didn't subscribe yet, sub for me, daddy, please. I'll bow down to you. What do you want me to say? Or at least comment. I know you always hear that in videos, it's like and subscribe, please comment, but it's true. It's like, if you don't do that, I don't know if you guys fuck with the videos, because I could have 500 views and 2 likes, and that could be me taking it as it being a bad video. Don't get me wrong, I do that to some of my favorite YouTubers also, where I'll binge watch their videos all night and forget to like and subscribe, and that's on me, so don't be like me. Don't be like me. But alright guys, that is the video. We just talked about Tales from the Crypt. Comment down below what videos you want next. Shout out to all the people that have been commenting. Shout out to the one dude that said my channel reminds him of Cinemassacre. That means so much to me. Please subscribe. Give me a thumber. Hit that ding-a-ling button harassing you, telling you, hey, it's me, I'm here, and I'm going to say it 1 time for the 1 time and 2 time for the O's. Give me a hell yeah for horror. And if you don't like this video, I'll have an axe to grind with you. Dude, that's such a stupid voice, dude. That's such a dumb voice. Like, I'm original. I'm better than you, Crypt Keeper.
Bullshit. Oh, completely worthless. Mr. Sickles, a mere prop.